Good morning, everyone. We're just letting everybody into the room right now. Get started here in just a minute. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool. Let's see here. Any wins? Any guys have any wins on the attraction front for the past week? Any wins in general? All right, well, let's get going here.
I got a win.
Yeah, go for it, Angela.
Yeah, my son's almost finished his onboarding. He should be completing that today.
Oh, good. Okay, very
Yeah,
good. Well, he's
he's
all
really
set up with
excited too.
He's all set up with us on our end, so I'll double confirm that he got everything done with Brandon at the Pittsburgh office. But I think we're in good shape there. Well, that's good. It's wonderful. That's good news. Um, what else? What any other wins for you guys? Anything else going on that you wanted to talk about or express before we start with the agenda? And I'm not sure if Larry's jumping in today or not. We'll see if he does. Looks like Jeff's on the call. So we'll just ask for any input, anything that anybody wants to go over before we start the agenda today. Okay, well, today's agenda is basically follow-up and review of the past 5 weeks. And follow-up is probably the most important thing that any of us can be doing. And the same thing, I mean, everything dovetails right back to what we do in real estate. There's really little difference between your sphere of influence in real estate and your sphere of influence in the attraction front. We're attracting agents to to be part of our organization, and when you're dealing with real estate clients, you're working to attract those agents or those clients to work with you in a real estate transaction. And hopefully, when you do have a client that comes to work with you on a real estate transaction, it's a lifelong relationship that you've created with that person. It's not a one-off. And the same thing holds true when you're working with real estate agents. Agents do move around a lot. I've been with 3, maybe 4 brokerages at this point in my career, and my career is pretty short. I've only been licensed for 8 years now. So most agents are going to have some moving around. But there also are the agents that have stuck with the same brokerage for years and years and years. They either number one, they're comfortable, they don't want to leave, they have a good deal going, they're not real productive agents, and they're not doing a lot of work, and their fees are low. So there's a variety of reasons why an agent would stay with a brokerage for a long period of time. Our goal is to find those agents that are looking for a bigger game to play, more things in their toolbox. Maybe they need more, maybe they need more tools. Maybe they need more things going on to help with their productivity. Maybe they need more AI or different things that are thinking outside the box. Maybe they're just looking for a change of pace. So that's what we want to basically do when we're talking to agents is to bring those to the forefront. So when we're talking about follow-up can look vastly different to different people. The way Larry and I do it, we kind of tag team the follow-up. He'll do some follow-up, then I'll do some follow-up. We're always communicating with each other. We're letting each other know through our CRM because we can share our CRM what's going on. So before I would ever call somebody, I would check my CRM. Did Larry have a call recently? But our goal is to basically be touching agents at least 4 times a year after the initial outreach. The initial outreach might be a little bit more active, engaging. We might actually reach out in the first month. We might have 3 or 4 conversations with that person in a month. But then after that, then it's just on a drip campaign, so to speak. Whether it's a text, an email, a phone call, an invitation to a event, whatever the case might be. So this is why you want to make sure that you are knowing your value proposition and what you can bring of value to that agent over the long haul. So maybe it's a newsletter. Newsletters are good because they're very easy to put together. I can put together a newsletter in probably about an hour using YouTube videos, different. Well, you got to find out you have to know what medium you're going to use first. So I use CRM Grow, which is it's a particular type of CRM, which I like. There are some nuances about it I don't like. But as far as CRMs go, it's pretty good. It's for our purposes, it's fairly inexpensive. We pay right around $100 a month for our CRM, but we send out a lot of emails. We do a lot of sharing. I have unlimited people I can pull into my CRM. Right now, I have like 12,000 agents in our CRM, but we've purchased lists and we can pull those lists in, pull them out. I also use KV Core. I think KV Core is a good CRM. If I didn't have CRM Grow, I'd probably just stick with KV Core. I can make it work for my purposes, but you have a bunch of different CRMs out there, so it really doesn't matter the CRM you choose. It's just how you choose to use it. The way we use CRM Grow is, well, here's what my follow-up campaign looks like. So my initial call goes out. I talk to the agent. I do a three-way call then with Larry. So now I've had a conversation. Larry's had a conversation. And then we just sort of put the person on a campaign where we're reaching out to them on a monthly basis for 1 or 2 months and then a quarterly basis. And those reach outs will look like some tips and tricks that we can send to them via email, some different things they can do with on follow up with. This is all real estate related. It's just client related. So we send them information about how to work with clients, what to do with clients, what to say, different scripting, just whatever works for you. So we just try to communicate with that person as much as we can. We invite them to some masterminds. You'll see a lot of the agents I've spoken with on Larry's Wealth Building on Fridays. Some just get comfortable. They keep coming every Friday. I don't know if they're ever going to move over to EXP, but they come every Friday because they like it and they like the content. And so the next conversations we're having with these agents are, hey, look, what if you could have this all the time? What if you could have not just once a week, but you could have every day, being able to reach out to a coach or a mentor or the brokers they have. We're not trying to do anything better with the brokers, although we feel as though our brokers are very responsive, very reliable, and easy to get into contact with. When I was with brokerages in the past, it could be 3 days before I got a question answered, and in my mind's eye, it was a very important question. In the broker's mind's eye, it wasn't that important. So, in all retrospect, it probably was less important to me than I thought at the time. But when you're trying to close a deal, when you're trying to make sure that the deal doesn't fall apart, these issues, they are important to the people that are involved with it. So our follow-up basically looks like it's a tag team, but it's consistent. And that's the one thing you have to always maintain is that consistent approach to your follow-up. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put together your schedule. So is it going to be quarterly? Is it going to be monthly? And then you want to bring into what are you going to offer these agents? Are they going to be events that they can go to online? I think online events are really good to do. We do 2 mastermind calls a month with American Destiny. We do one with Darren and Barry Owens and myself, and then we do the one with Jeff Russell, usually a week after ours. So we know we always have two that we're going to offer, and sometimes we'll have Larry. If he has a special guest, we'll offer that. But I just sent out some text messages right before this call, and the text messages I sent out were to watch for our newsletter this week. So I want the person on the other end that I've had a conversation with in the past, hearing my voice, hearing from me, getting an email, seeing me on Facebook as often as possible. So when they're thinking about, hey, maybe I would like a change. Maybe I would like to see what it looks like to be part of that group. They're gonna number one know how to get a hold of me fast. We're not gonna have to be going through emails or digging. They're gonna know they're gonna have my information at their fingertips. Because if we all get distracted, we get distracted just going to get something to eat for lunch, and then you come back and what was I in the middle of doing, and then you forget, and it just gets pushed off to the next day. So we don't want agents or prospects to not have our contact information handy in front of them. So when we do the follow-ups, we make sure we always have the phone number, we always have the email, we always have my calendar, We're always giving them information. If you look on our weekly newsletters, you'll know something that's consistent about our weekly newsletter is my contact information is always at the front of the newsletter and at the end of the newsletter. We don't want to ever have somebody have to go searching for it. So whether they text me or email me or put time on my calendar, they have access to me, and that's the important thing. We want to make sure they have quick access to me. So developing that system of follow-up is probably going to be, of all the things we've talked about from week 1 to today, is probably, even if you botched the first 5 weeks and you maybe had a horrible discovery call and maybe you thought you said everything the wrong way, as long as you have a good follow-up system where the person knows that they're going to be reached out to you on a fairly regular basis, you're still staying sticky with them. You're still staying in front of them, which is really the important part of it all. And then maybe your value proposition evolves over time. Maybe you don't really think you have much of a value proposition to offer somebody right now, but then you start realizing that, hey, Joseph Limo has a really good call on Mondays. What if I just started inviting people to those calls, being on those calls with them, and you following up with them after the call to see what they thought about it, or even making the club wealth events accessible to people. You can't really make the masterminds accessible unless you're with that person. So if you're at the same computer with them and you want to watch it together, you could do that, but you couldn't give them access to it. But you could give them access to the regional events where, they're in California next week and they're going to be in Minnesota the week after. They're pretty much all over the country. So in the course of a year, I could probably find you one Club Wealth regional event that's within a 2-hour, maybe 3-hour drive of where you live. They come to certain areas more often than others, like California, they're there 3 or 4 times a year. Florida, same thing. Minnesota, they're going to be there once a year. I don't think they've ever been to Pittsburgh, but that's fine. They come to Cleveland. They've been to Columbus, which Cleveland's only 2 hours from me. So that's another event that I use to try to get, again, I'm looking for value propositions as much as you guys are too. So I'm always looking to find what can I offer as a manager or a leader of a group to another person that's searching. So let me hear from you guys a little bit. What are some of the follow-ups that you could think about doing, or that you have done in the past, whether with agents or even with clients? What's your follow-up look like?
I'm actually contacting the agents that are showing my listings and asking them, thanking them for showing my listing. Can I answer any questions? Can I send them over anything for their client? How do you like it where you are? Just getting
Yeah.
that conversation going.
That's perfect. That's all you really want to do. You just want to keep that conversation going, and then that can evolve into inviting them to come over to one of the mastermind calls or the huddle, the daily huddle. We have really good huddles. Sometimes they start out kind of slow. It's like nobody's really knowing where it's going to go that day, but then somebody will say something and we'll be getting off the call at like 1 minute to 11 or 1 minute to the top of the hour. So it just depends. And I kind of like that. I kind of like having that non-scripted, no structure type of meeting periodically. There's something to be said about structured events. That's why I kind of evolved this mastermind call into a 6-week program where we'd have structured things we would talk about each week. But I kind of like going off the rails too. I kind of like just going down rabbit holes and seeing where it's going to lead us, because I think that's when I learned the most from these calls. Like on Joseph's call on Monday, we were diving deep into the NAR settlement and agents offering concessions, or is it really a concession or not a concession, or what's the deal? And so this came up again even with Darren and I during our daily calls with agents that are reaching out to us about what's it looking like on Bid on Homes? How are the offers supposed to be going in after August 17th? And Darren's like, I don't know. It's like, let's reach out to the agents. Let's find out. So that's what's good about all this, is that you have a format, but then you also have just a forum where you can just engage, and it's low pressure. Nobody's gonna chop your head off because you asked the wrong question, or nobody is ever made to feel like that wasn't a good question to ask, or everybody should know that. That's probably the biggest fear is when you're on some of these calls is, I don't know the answer to that. I wonder how many other people are thinking like me, or am I the only one? Am I that stupid? I shouldn't know the answer to this question. Because, sometimes sometimes there is such a thing as a stupid question, even though our teachers have always told us there's no such thing as a stupid question. But if you're asking asset managers stupid questions, and they're starting to wonder about your knowledge. So, but these forums are good because we can ask those questions and not feel like, we should have known that when maybe we're just we didn't. So good. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Angela. Any other what are some of the other let's hear from some other people. What else are you guys thinking about as far as follow-up things that you can do?
Well,
Initial's good. I mean, initial's easy. It's the easy part. The follow-up's the hard part because you got to get creative. Go ahead, Bob.
I can share, Eric, what I've been doing, and I certainly don't have all the answers. So I'm bringing this out here as a more of a temperature check to make sure I'm doing the right things. But I've always done live webinars. I have 5 different webinars that agents across the country can join. It's not state specific, whether it be getting new listings, working Instagram, working the REO space, etc. I invite them to events through Eventbrite. I have a pretty robust database of agents across the country. So I get a pretty good following on that. So the folks that jump on there, I'm actively communicating with them. It's pre-recorded, but it's live. So I'm having a conversation with them. And I'm also doing 1 or 2 live events on topics that I feel very, very knowledgeable about. And that's REO and working with FSBOs and expireds. So I use my strengths, share it with others that want to join me on that quest, if you will. And then everybody that joins into there, you got to sign up. You got to give me your name, your number, your email, your phone number, everything. And then we follow up with them, put them in CRM Grow. CRM Grow is amazing. And that's working up to this point. But one thing we started really focusing on is our open house traffic. Like Angela talked about, the buyer agents that are coming to her. Those are agents that are actually working. So that is who I'm focused on, like a seller that says, hey, I'm motivated to sell. Just like, hey, I'm an agent that's motivated to go out and show property and do real estate. That's who I'm focusing on, driving them to our classes, driving them to our masterminds. And we're just now starting to get some traction, if you will. The open house, we have a 3-way call today with one of my agents that they met the agent at the open house this weekend. So I'm encouraging not only myself to do it, but to help others do the same, being available for that 3-way call. And, that's where these calls come in so handy. You don't know what you don't know. So those are some of the things I've been doing.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I mean, the more we're engaging, the better it is for that agent. And, they just want to hear from us periodically. Now, they might ghost us. They might say, I don't want to hear from this person, or may unsubscribe from your emails. And that's okay too. I'd rather them let me know up front that they're not interested, but they're going to probably still see us. They're still going to probably still, pick us up on Facebook or different mediums that we're out there on. So that's why and Larry's really good at this because he's everywhere. He's on Instagram, he's on Facebook, he's doing emails, he's doing even in our workplace, in our our EXP site, where everybody has a sponsor at this point. We're still engaging, we're still active in those areas, because even after an agent comes on board and they're part of our organization, we want them to continue to be happy. We want them to continue to offer value to them and be able to show that we are constantly and always willing to engage and make their real estate a journey as phenomenal as possible. And that's the longevity part of it. I really don't like leaky buckets. Whenever I was in chiropractic practice, one of the things that we always tried to do is have patients coming back for follow-ups, because it was a lot easier to have a follow-up patient than try to process somebody new, a new patient. And the same holds true with our group. It's the onboarding process can take a little bit of time. It can be a little bit daunting for the agent to get through. But we don't want them to ever feel like, that process has ended. It's, the onboarding really is a ongoing process really throughout our whole careers. We're always learning new things. EXP will always be coming out with new widgets and new and different ways of doing business more productively. I wouldn't even say it's better, because I know real estate agents from 40 years ago that were very productive 40 years ago, and they didn't have any of these tools. You know, they had to go take Polaroids. They had to go get their film developed at a film developing station, whatever you call those places. I remember we had a place that you'd drive up to when we were kids, and you'd drop off your film, and 2 days later you'd come back through that. It was a drive-through. You picked up your pictures, and we always got so excited about that. But you know, that was the way they did business, and you know, agents, you know, sold lots of homes, and so it's not better, it's just different, and we just have to learn to adapt and change to this differentness. Photomat, that's what it was called. But I think Kodak was the sponsor or something. Anyhow, but you know, today's on follow-up. So any other ideas on follow-up? What do you, and even if you've only talked to 10 agents over the last couple months, how are you going to continue to follow up with those agents over the next 2 years? Because it could be 3 years before an agent finally, whether they see if they see the light, or just have a, you know, just that they just want to make a change, or they're ready to do something different. It's different for everybody. So what else do you feel you guys could be doing?
Well, one of the things I just want to highlight, what I've heard you and Robert said since I've jumped on, right, is the follow-up is key, and handling everybody similar, right? So when somebody comes into my CRM, the only reason they see me everywhere is because my team now connects with them on social media. They now get an email from me asking them to follow me if for some reason I couldn't find them. Then they get an email, and then they get a text, right? And then they get occasional calls. So I will hit them wherever they want to be communicated with. And then you'll start to see trends like, oh, this person communicates through Facebook message, through text, never answers phone calls, etc. Right? So you will see this, but that's the same thing you should be doing with buyers, with sellers, with agents. And why we use CRM Grow is because it's really easy to systematize that, right? So Eric and I do a lot together. He gives somebody to me, and anything that I do more than once, I create a system for. So they go into the American Destiny follow-up campaign. Robert's doing these meetings. He has them followed up. Over to me, and I'm connecting. And literally, I took my American Destiny follow-up campaign and I tweaked it to be the Robert Weichelt follow-up campaign. And I added a video on there that says, hey, Robert Weichelt introduced me. I think you went to one of his REO classes, etc., etc. Man, I run some REO networks. I have a lot of relationships. I would love to get you in, right? And then they get invited to the REO Alliance, and then this, and then this, and then this, right? So it's about scalability and having kind of that follow-up system to remind you when you need to do something. I think we all have great intentions, but we get busy. Life gets in the way. We get sick. We have this family emergency. It doesn't have to always be right on time, but you have to be able to come back to it and make things up. And that's where you'll start to be in the right place at the right time and really be in front of them when you need it, is if you're communicating in all of those different ways. But you have to systematize it. Otherwise, you're capped at how much work you guys can actually do in the day.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you know, it's also about scalability too. Like if you guys only have 10 people that you've reached out to, you want to scale that to, say you want to scale it to 100 people. This is where you can take, you know, the fact that you've only been communicating on a basis where you're not massively sending out stuff. You can start to systematize it a lot easier. It's hard to take something at scale and bring it down than it is to take it where you're at to bring it up. So it's better now when you're starting out to put those systems in place that are predictable, reliable, and duplicatable, rather than trying to take 1,000 leads into your system and do it the same way. And I can tell you that from experience. You know, when I started doing this, you know, I had to make that first call, and I still have it. I still know who that first call was, because I I kept track of it. And I numbered it, like, this is my first call, this is my second call. I'm up to like call 800 something now, but it all starts with one, and then you just start to scale. My biggest difficulty right now is finding, is getting people to reach out to me via my calendar. Now I'm gonna have to probably make some adjustments, some switch, some change things up a little bit to maybe do some cold calling, which I didn't want to have to do, but I knew I would have to do it eventually. You know, my database was only so big, and it can only keep me going for so long. But you know, we have a company called Alignable, which is it's kind of like a LinkedIn type of thing. So I'm using that. I'm using LinkedIn. I'm using Facebook. I haven't jumped onto Instagram at this point in time, only because I just feel like I don't have the time to do all this. That's where, you know, my next step is a VA to help me with my scalability so that I can take this to the next level. So for you guys, it's just a matter of, you know, where you're at now, where do you want to get to? So the 6 weeks, and we're just going to repeat this. We're just going to, next week is going to be week 1 again, which is building your foundation. So we'll be talking next week about, you know, where to get your lists, where to get your databases. But Angela, really, I think you know, the most important thing that she said today was that she's using the people she already knows, that she's working with, and just start those little, you know, those little mini conversations. And I wouldn't ever advise anybody to go in for the close on the first conversation you're having with somebody. It just doesn't make you look good, unless that person is like, they're saying to you like, look, I just need to change, you know, just things are not going well for me, you know, I'm not doing well, you know, what do you suggest? And that's where your suggestion would be, why don't you have a talk with Eric? Let's have a talk with Larry. Let's have a talk with Jeff and see where, you know, how we can maybe help you solve some of these problems. In worst case, you know, best case scenario, they come over with us and they're a part of our group. But even if that isn't the case, at least if we're helping them in some way, it doesn't matter if they come over. Eventually, you know, they're going to see, look, the help flow can only go one way for so long. You can only keep helping somebody before they feel like, you know, I'm getting all this help, but I'm not reciprocating. So they're going to feel like, you know, they have to be some reciprocal help flow, whether it's back to you or to somebody else. What's the saying? Pay it forward. So we always want to be paying it forward, not only in what we're doing as a group, but also what things that we're doing in life. So, anyhow, you know, that's, you know, that was it for this week. Is just, you know, establishing those follow-up campaigns, having a good follow-up campaign, having a follow-up campaign, but you want to be reaching out on as a regular basis as possible with, and every time you call them, it's not, you can't just say, hey, how's it going? Haven't talked to you for a week. You know, I just want to see how things are going. You have to come up with some creative ways to, engage. And if they're REO, the easiest way is, you know, call them once a month and invite them to the mastermind call. You know, say, hey, look, ADR is having their mastermind call. You know, I want to invite you to make sure you're there, or to invite them to Larry's wealth building on Friday. So those are the easiest ways to do it. And then if you're going to be a 5-star, you're going to be seeing them at the regional meeting or your MLS or some local trainings that you're doing, then you can do that as well. But the online training that Robert's doing is phenomenal. So anybody that can start to tap into that, that's a good idea as well. I'll leave the last couple of minutes open for any questions. All right. Well, we taped today. We taped the last 6 weeks. They're on the YouTube, which is in the newsletter. You can find that. Again, next week we'll start again with week 1. I might modify the agenda a little bit, but it's still going to be 6 weeks. We're going to have a structured, but again, if these calls go off the rails and go in any direction you want them to go in, not a problem. There might not be as many people on this call because they felt like, if I missed the first 5 weeks, what am I going to learn on week 6? Although I reiterated in the newsletter, it doesn't matter when you jump in. But we'll start in our newsletter next week. I'll definitely promote it as a new starting up point. But in all honesty, it's going to be more, you're just trying to get more information out to you guys and really try to answer your questions. We do this for you guys, not for us. So if there's any questions you have in the meantime, you can text me, call me, send me an email. We'll try to get back to you. You know that I do communicate very quickly. I get back to you as soon as I possibly can. The only time I don't is when I'm in my office on Wednesdays and Fridays, or if I'm on vacation. But you always know when that's the case. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for coming today. If you have any other questions, I'll stick on until you guys are all off. But have a good rest of the day.
Hey, Eric, thanks a lot, man, for putting these on. This is the momentum that we need, even if there's no agenda, like you hit. The conversation sparks other conversations because we don't know what we don't know. And these calls are powerful. I mean, I'm doing everything I can to get my agents on this. This is the go-to EXP Explained, in my opinion. This is Agent Attraction 101. And that's a very important part of our process. So thank you for putting these on. And I'm doing everything I can to drive my agents to this class or
I
to this.
appreciate that. Yeah, we're not going to stop. You know, it's we're going to keep it going. Just yeah, I learned from it too. You know, I don't have my processes, as Larry will tell you. He just put his camera on. He'll tell you that, you know, I have my weaknesses that I'm trying to work on, but it's a process. You know, it's you know, when I was in chiropractic, it was called chiropractic practice because, you know, people say, well, why want to go to you if you're just practicing? Well, you get better over time. You know, you evolve your communication and your techniques and stuff. And real estate's more of the same. You get better at how you talk to people and what you say by the more that you do it. So, well, thanks for coming on, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a good
Thank
rest
you,
of the day.
Larry MF. You're the man. MF.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys and all of this. This is the key, right? Like the more people that we get on here, the more lessons, the more somebody tries something that's working, right? And that's kind of the purpose of the mastermind, is that we all learn from each other. And this is the beautiful part, like, of this company that I haven't seen at other places, right? Where we have all like these people from across the country, from across the world and stuff, that we're all digging in. And our group specifically, we're building something really effing cool. And so, like, I'm so excited for this next 4 to 8 years of what we're building. So keep it up, get other people involved. And if you guys need anything, let us know.
Sounds good. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you.
Thanks, guys.